Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Brian here with TrailGrid Pro. Today we're going to be installing the Anytime Backup Camera and Front Camera Kit in this 2021 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. Okay, so let's talk about the reason why this camera is going to be such a great addition to this truck. If you drive a Tundra, you know it's a big truck. You got a lot of blind area in the front. So this camera that we're going to install gives us the ability to toggle back and forth between the front camera and the rear camera on demand. Okay, so we have all of our components out on the table. We're gonna try to make this as easy as possible to show you how everything gets hooked up. So we're gonna start with the camera. So we're gonna imagine that we're at the front of your vehicle. You have your camera with a wire. It has a couple little colored loops in it. And this connector here, we're gonna take the long extension cable. It has the RCA on one end, this black connector on the other. So your camera wire, we're gonna turn this around. There's an arrow on it. We just gotta get the arrows lined up. You will feel that click together. So this long RCA extension is what's you're gonna run through and into your truck. So on one end, you're gonna have an RCA with a pigtail. And then you're gonna have a red and a black wire. The red wire, you can cap off or tape up. That's not gonna be used. The black wire is gonna be grounded. We're gonna ground it somewhere in the engine bay. All of the black wires are gonna be grounded. And then the pigtail off of the RCA is gonna be connected to the green wires here in a minute. This is the only instance in this install where you're not gonna connect light colored wire to light colored wire. All right, so we're gonna leave this right here on the table for right now. We're gonna grab the relay switch. You're gonna have a green and a black wire coming off of that. We're gonna set those to the side for right now. And then you'll see we have 3 RCA jacks. The extension wire that we had just a second ago is going to plug into one of the RCA jacks. Now, if you notice, the kit already comes with one jack with a little black mark on it. You want to connect your extension wire into the one that does not have a black mark on it. Leaves you with 2 RCAs, a male and a female. You're gonna have this other harness. It's gonna be the only other one with RCAs on it. And we're just gonna match up the RCAs. There's 1 male, 1 female on each side. So pretty simple there. I'm gonna go ahead and take the twist tie off of this. We'll go ahead and take the twist tie off of our other harness. So now in these 2 loomed sets here we have coming off of both of our harnesses, you're gonna see that we have a gray and a blue, and an orange and a red. And then off of our relay, we have a green and a black. Like we said a second ago, this pigtail off of the long extension with the RCA is gonna end up getting connected to green. And then if you see, we have a wiring harness for our toggle switch. We have all the same colors. We have a black, orange, red, blue, green, and gray. So we have here our green wire. We're gonna take our switch and the green wire and that 1 red wire from the RCA, those are gonna get tied together. We recommend solder and shrink tubing if you have butt connectors or however you need to do it, but we always recommend solder and shrink tube. It's just a more secure, permanent connection. We're gonna take our black wire with our black wire off of the switch harness. Those are gonna get tied together. Again, the black wires need to be grounded. So if you need to put some sort of a connector or something on the end, but they definitely need to be grounded. And these will be grounded inside of the truck. behind the radio. So that leaves us now with an orange and a red and a blue and a gray. So our orange and our red from our one harness, match those up, and blue and gray from our other. We're gonna match those up and secure those wires. All right, so that's about it. Pretty straightforward. We're gonna go ahead and assemble this, and we'll show you what the completed assembly looks like, and then we'll go ahead and install it in the truck. All right, so we're back at the table. We've gone ahead and wired, soldered, shrink tube, connected everything. So we'll go ahead and walk through it one more time just to show you what it looks like. So again, starting from the camera, we have the camera, the black connector fits in there. And we have our red and black wire that come out the other side of that harness. We've gone ahead and added a connector there so we can ground that out on the black wire. And like we said, the red wire is not being utilized in this situation. So we're gonna go ahead and just cap it off. We cut the end and then capped it off with some shrink tubing there. We're gonna follow our long extension RCA, have our RCA connected. And like I said, our red wire is going to be connected to our two green wires, one coming off the switch and the other one's coming from our harness. All of the wires coming from the switch are connected. Did the same thing, we put a little connector there with some solder and shrink tube on our black wire so we can ground those. Our blue is connected to blue, green to green, gray to gray, and orange to orange, red to red. Have our relay, and then our other two RCAs are connected there. So that's what it should look like. Like I said, pretty straightforward. The only time that you're not gonna match color to color is you have the two greens and the one red, they're all getting tied together. So let's go ahead and get the truck in here and we'll go ahead and get this installed and take a look. Okay, so let's get started with the disassembly. First thing we're gonna do is take off the shift knob. We can do that by simply twisting lefty-loosey. And that'll come off, set that to the side. We're gonna open up the glove compartment here. This giant center console we have. We're gonna lift up. You need a pry tool. All right, there we go. This whole piece comes off. Set that to the side for now. All right, we have the panel down here where you plug your phone in, and it's got a couple blanks. We're gonna go ahead and, when we take this off, push out one of these blanks. That's where I'm gonna put my toggle switch for the cameras. So we're gonna use our pry tool again. Get up behind. Just gently work this out, pulling towards us. Here we go. So we do have a couple of connections here. Just gonna use our finger, or you may need a small flathead screwdriver. Press the tabs and go ahead and pull these out of the way. And lastly, last outlet there. Now you can see here we have two blank punch outs here. I'm going to go ahead and put mine right here in the middle, keeping it close to all the other buttons. So while we got it, just go ahead and slide that out, set that off to the side for safekeeping. All right, next thing is the climate control. Pulls straight out. We got one connection on the back here. I'm gonna set that to the side as well. So it's hard to see, but there's 4 10mm bolts. There's two, kind of, if you're looking at the center of the radio, there's two towards the middle that are a little closer, and then the two in the back are way back there. So if you have a long extension, definitely helpful. All right, so for these two 10mm bolts all the way in the back, I went ahead and loosened them up. If you have one of these little extendable magnet things, they're be really handy. If not, they're usually in the dollar bin at AutoZone, Advance, something like that. I would recommend picking one up. All right, we've got all 4 of those out, so we're just gonna reach in, gently pull the radio out. We're gonna take one of our microfibers, set it up here on the dash. Should have enough cable to just lay that right up there like so. So now that we have access to the back of the radio, you're gonna see there's 3 plugs. There's a gray, a white in the middle, and then a black one on the left. In this application, we're gonna be pulling out the gray and the white connector out of the back of the radio. May help if you have a small flathead screwdriver just to depress the tab. All right, we now have the 2 connectors that we need out of the radio. All right, so we have our completed wire harness. Ours may look a little bit different than yours. We've soldered and shrink wrapped all the connections, how we showed you earlier, while we had it all laid out on the table. And then just for security and cleanliness, we went ahead and wrapped it up with some Tessa tape. So we're gonna take our 2 factory looking radio connections, and these are keyed, so they'll only fit one certain way. Push, you might have heard the click there. I'm gonna push. All right, heard a click there. Now the white one was in the middle, so now we're gonna take that same one and go ahead and plug it back where we removed it from. Give it a firm push. Might have been able to hear the click. And same thing with this one. Give it a little bit of a tug test. Yeah, those are definitely in place. So we now have those plugged in. I'm gonna go ahead and, like I said, we've gone ahead and punched out the blank here for our toggle switch. So we're gonna go ahead and put that in. So we can see this is how the panel should be oriented. We're gonna go ahead and orient the switch. Got the front as on the top, rear. We're gonna go ahead and just push this in. All right, then we're gonna give it a quick, yep, everything moves freely. That looks super clean, super factory. You will notice a difference on this one where the 2 black wires came together from the relay and the switch. I went ahead and pigtailed I had some extra wire laying around. I went ahead and pigtailed like a really long extra section on here so that we can make sure that it reached to wherever we decide to go ahead and ground out this part on the inside of the truck. So don't be thrown off by the long section of white wire. That's actually the grounds for the black in this situation. All right, so we got the end of our long RCA extension. We're gonna go ahead and try to run it down through the dash and then over towards where the A-pillar and the side of the truck meet, so we can go through the grommet and then up towards the front of the truck. All right, so to make this a little easier, you have the leather accent trim piece here on the dash. I'm actually just gonna reach behind. There's actually a lot of room back there, and I'm just gonna push even pressure out, and this whole trim piece with the vent is just gonna come out. Now we have access to all behind the dash. It's gonna be easier to see where we need to run the wire. All right, so we're still working with the RCA extension for the camera. We're gonna go right here behind the dash. And then this actually will just feed right through here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this across. I'm gonna go ahead and pull like a pretty good amount of slack out of it. And then I'm gonna go, if you can look in there, you see there's like that cross member right there, and try to go over it, and then I can see daylight coming up from the bottom. So we're gonna try to go over and then down to that grommet. So I'm gonna have to get down here on the bottom. All right. That actually worked out really well. Once you go over that cross member, kind of in the back corner, it just literally drops straight down into my hand. Go ahead and remove my Husky weather beater floor mats. And right here in the corner, right here in the corner of the carpet where the A-pillar comes down, there's this little black retainer that helps hold the carpet down. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that out of the way. I'll just go ahead and take this out. Just make life a little easier. And go ahead and take that piece out. All right, I'm gonna try to show you as best as possible. It's kind of hard to see. We're in the corner of the truck. Here's all the wiring behind the little kick panel we took out. So if you look right up here, you can see the black carpet goes to gray, and then that's where our grommet location is. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move to the engine compartment and go ahead and pass our wire fish through there, and then we'll pull our wire back. All right, so we're up here in the engine compartment. If you look right down here in the corner, the back of the engine bay, you can see that grommet where that wiring harness is coming through. So that's where we're going to be fishing our wire from the passenger compartment into the engine compartment so we can work that wire towards the front. So what I'm going to do, take the knife, I'm going to make a small incision next to the wiring harness. I don't want to cut or fish the wire fish near the wiring harness. I don't want to risk damaging any of the wires or shorting something out. That can lead to a costly bill at the repair shop, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to go over here to the side. Just make a small X cut. Like so. And we're going to take our wire fish and we're going to gently push it through. All right, so in order to get the wire fish through the firewall grommet there, this one is a little bit more substantial than the firewall grommet that we did on the 4Runner. It actually, you can see how it has similar looking rubber gasket on this side, but then the inside of it is more cone shaped. So I ended up cutting through, like I said, with the knife, just put a little X in the outside, and then the wire fish has a bend on the end of it. I ended up taking a very small, thin flathead screwdriver and sticking it in that bend, and then just punching it through the rubber on the inside in order to get the wire fish to go through. So now we're going to go back inside, we're going to use the tape, we're going to tape our wire up, and then pull it back through to the engine bay. All right, so we got it taped on the inside. And we're gonna start gently pulling it back through the grommet. This would probably be a lot easier if it wasn't 95 degrees in this garage. My hands are super sweaty. All right, so we got the wire through, both the first and then this little Y with our other wire on it. So go ahead and take the tape off here. All right, so now we got the wire. I'm gonna follow this main wire harness here. So we're gonna go under the horn there. And then we're gonna try to fish it under the air filter housing. And then we're going to go around the washer fluid reservoir. Always trying to keep it tight to the side of the truck. Alright, so we ran our wire up to the front here. I'm just going to let it dangle right here until we mount the camera. The red and the black wire, went ahead and took it all the way across, went under this part of the upper bumper, went through here, and then there's a grounding strap here. Went ahead and just grounded the black wire out there, and then tidied up the wire. So the only thing we have left to do here, we're going to pull the slack back, and then we're going to tidy up the wires in the cab, and then we'll go ahead and start reassembling the cab so we can hook everything up and try our camera. Okay, so we're back in the cab of the truck. Off camera, I went ahead and secured the extra RCA extension cable. I just tidied it up, put it right here in the dash. Went ahead and put the kick panel, the sill plate, all that back together. I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall the trim piece here. Just push this right into place. And I'll go ahead and show you what I did with the stereo itself. The wiring harness, I need the plug for the switch to be right down here where the control panel goes. So I left the relay right here in the middle because we need to make sure that the 4 bolt hole locations stay free so that we can mount our head unit back. So there's a piece of foam back here. I just kind of gently pushed it out of the way and worked my plug down to where we have enough to plug it in. And then the white wire, if you guys remember, I said I went ahead and took the extra wire and tied it into the black grounds. I went ahead and just took out one of the screws that mounts the bracket to the stereo. It was an 8mm bolt. I went ahead and took that off and just grounded that there. All the other wires are tucked up in the dash, so we can go ahead and push everything back up in here. And we're just gonna go straight in. All right, so that's nice and seated there. Like I said, we got our wire there. Reach over and get our 4 10mm bolts. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the 2 that are closest to me. We'll try to thread these in. Got all those back in. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put our climate control back. Just one connection on the back there. Line that up. And clips right into place. We're gonna go ahead and put our panel on. You see, remember we already installed our switch. So we're gonna make all of our connections here. Keep in mind, these are all keyed plugs, so they will only go in one spot. All right, there we go. And just push that straight in. All right. Next, we'll get our center console. Open our compartment here. Hear that snap into place. Go ahead and put our organizer back in. And put the shift knob back on. There we go. Everything's back together. We'll go hook up the camera and we will test this out. All right, so we went ahead and just hooked the camera up. Haven't mounted it yet, but we want to go ahead and do a test before we finalize anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn accessory power on. Go ahead and turn the lights to the auto function. You can see that our backlit function works. So head unit's powered up. We'll go ahead and give it a try. We'll hit rear. There's the rear camera. Go ahead and try the front. All right, there's the front. It is mirrored, so as you can see, the writing is backwards. So we're gonna have to go up, and there's a couple wires right up next to the camera. We're gonna cut one of those wires, and it's gonna go ahead and flip the image so that it appears in the camera as it does actually in real life. So, but as you can see, simple flick of a button, or we can leave it in the neutral position, and then the backup camera functions as it should before you installed this upgrade. All right, so if you follow the camera wire back, you can see you got a purple, a white, and a green wire. Like we said, the image was mirrored left to right, so we're gonna just snip the white wire, and now that will correct the image. I'm gonna opt right now to go ahead and leave the grid lines just to see how I like it. If I decide that I change my mind and the grid lines coming out on the front camera aren't really what I want, I'm just gonna go ahead and cut the green wire, and that will get rid of the grid lines. All right, so we went ahead and mounted the actual front-facing camera. We didn't record the whole thing. It was a little fiddly trying to figure out where exactly we wanted to mount it. There wasn't really a good way to mount it in the vertical orientation, so we went ahead and did horizontal. So what we did is we picked, now keep in mind this is the TRD Pro grill, so your grill may be a little bit different if you have another trim level, but on mine I picked this middle little lug, whatever you want to call this here, and drilled the 5/16 hole straight through, and then was just able to thread the nut straight onto the back with little to no problem. So the only thing is you have to do now is, since the image is going to be mirrored, when you go look at your camera, it would have been upside down. So what I did is I went ahead and cut the purple wire. The purple wire is going to correct that. Let's make it right side up. So real quick, purple mirrored upside down, right side up. White mirrored left to right, and then the green is the grid lines. So we're going to tidy this up, and then we'll be done with this install. All right, so we got the wires tidied up under the hood. Everything is back together. It's completed. So let's go ahead and we'll fire it up. We'll give it one more test to see the end result. So turn on accessory power. Turn our lights on so you can see that the backlight came on. It's a nice clean factory install. All right, so we're gonna go ahead, we'll test out the rear. We're gonna hit rear. There's the rear. Turn the lights off, get a little bit better view. Go back to the neutral. So there's the regular radio settings, back screen, and then we'll hit front. All right, so before that was flipped upside down. So by cutting the purple wire, we fixed that. We cut the white wire to fix the mirror left, right. Like I said, I went ahead and left the grid lines. And we'll just see how it goes. It actually looks like it lines up pretty well with the red, as you can see the front of the bumper right there. So all in all, wouldn't necessarily say it was a difficult install. You just got to take some time and pay attention to when you're matching the wires up, and just figure out how you want to run your wires. But this is definitely a great improvement to this truck. All right, everybody, thanks for hanging out and watching this install video of this camera system on the Tundra. If you like what you saw today, go ahead and hit the like button and the subscribe so you can follow along and see what else we got coming out for the Tundra shop. Speaking of that, you can pick these up on the Tundra shop at www.trailgridpro.com. All right, we'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a blast out there.